The age of strike deck sets is over. No more stray OTs. Follow me, and you will never again play tier 1 decks. Mask up! Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Season4 here. Today, I am back to talk about, not these guys, this guy, Griphogila Vartex, in DivineZ. Yes, I know what I'm saying, Griphogila Vartex. Because surprisingly, and honestly, I'm personally the most surprised, they actually gave Griphogila divine support, which I don't think anyone predicted that. But they did it in a very ethical and very sensible way. They are giving it so much so that all the masques support from the masques units that come out in DZ 6 also support Griphogila in that nation, which I thought was really nice. I mean, Griphogila as a deck, honestly, as much as it was very thematic and very cool, it frankly just fell apart completely as soon as the energy came in, right? There was no way you can abuse this. You just generally lose the game. But today on this video, and this video will be uploaded as the last video for the year 2024, I really wanted to talk about this deck because I think it is surprising how good the deck is now. This deck is by no means a tiered threat or some super secret meta deck that Season4 has invented. No. Neither is this an insightful guide for beginners. No. This instead is much different. This is a video to show the world that this deck is now playable, which virtually last time was thought it was not. It has a surprisingly good stall game, a surprisingly good way to actually hit its win cons now, and a demonic level of consistency that this archetype has never seen before. So much so that we can all thank Solrarion for giving us tons of free support. So today I will be covering Griphogila Vartex in Keter Sanctuary. And I think Keter Sanctuary is honestly the way to go right now. And the reason why is because there's only 2 nations with the enhanced Dragontree support because of the way the current sets are released. Currently, the only 2 that receive modern support is going to be Dragon Empire and Keter Sanctuary. Now, while Dragon Empire does have the infamous Idea, the issue is though, you don't really do anything else. I'm sorry, Idea is cool, but if you want to play Idea, just play Shiranui. And I'll link my previous Shiranui video in the links in the description. You want to be able to play the Dragontree deck for the Dragontree, right? So because of that, you want to actually make sure you live long enough to play out these synergies, and therefore, it's going to be Keter Sanctuary. In the future, when they do give the other enhanced Dragontree supports, I can foresee things like Stoichea coming back because of the Blitz Order synergy. I can foresee things like Brandgate, but right now, it has to be Keter Sanctuary because you only have 2 options. And Lyrical Monasterio is absolutely not an option. Please stop leaving me that comment. You're not going to get it. Okay? So, I'm going to run through this deck profile very quickly, and then I'm going to actually talk about the synergies and how it works. Because I think that's the real more interesting part. I think deck profile wise, it's really very simple. Our right deck, obviously, we have to play the Hydragram right line, which will contain on 1 Griffo Seed, 3 of the Calamities of differing grade, and then an over trigger. Again, this is standard Griphogila nonsense. You can check the link in the description below. I mean, you also have the Energy Crest, but frankly, I'll get to that in a bit. You can change the Calamity orders for a different set of Calamity orders. This is the life cycle of Griphogila. That is the Calamity orders from set 9. You can play the set orders. You can play the orders from set 8. That is for the Geography Calamity orders. Frankly, I think that you should just play the set 9 ones because they're way cooler, but the set 8 ones are respectable as well. I myself studied geography for a large part of my life, so I think it's pretty nice to show that. And as usual, because this is a December period video, I'm sick again. Alright, so let's talk about the rest of the right deck cards first. So these 3 are here. So Griffo Seed, right? You do not ride from the right deck on top of Griffo Seed. During the main phase, you choose a Calamity from your right deck and put it into your soul. Griffo Seed gains 2000 power continuously for each Calamity. So basically that's how you ride. So you have a grade 1/1, you have a grade 2/1, and you have a grade 3/1. And when you hit 3 Calamities in the soul, i.e. when Griffo Seed has completed his life cycle, you actually can choose the 3 calamities during the main phase and send them all back into the right deck. If you do, you get to ride Shokumetsu no Ryujin, Griphogila, or the Dragontree of Ecliptic Decimation, Griphogila, from the right deck as stand. And when you do, you also get 2 Dragontree markers. Again, these skills are very important for you to take note because this is like the only skill you get to use in 3 turns. Okay, so I think that if you are going to get lost in this video, you should actually play this video slower because there is a lot of subtle text. There is like 16 different ability texts that you need to memorize and know how to sequence in this deck, which is kind of frightening, but if you manage to do so, I'd say it's really rewarding. Or you could just watch the anime. I think the anime does a great job, especially because this is an anime villain deck. You should definitely at least watch the original source material before you pick up this deck because that will give you a lot more appreciation. I won't cover this is in the main deck, so too bad. Now, this skill, to put the 2 Dragontree markers, is one of the only 2 skills in the deck that allows you to put Dragontree markers on circles that you already have Dragontrees on. The rest of the entire deck states that it has to be on circles without. There is only one other skill that bypasses this restriction, which will be this one, Griphogila, and I will cover that later, okay? So, again, there is a lot of text you need to know. Now, the last card in your right deck is the Overtrigger, and this means your main deck only has 49 cards because you still play 49 cards with 15 triggers here. The 16th trigger is placed here. Now, for this deck, because we are playing Cactus Sanctuary, it does offer the weakest Overtrigger in the form of Amatenoa, and Amatenoa doesn't really do anything. Instead, though, I've opted to play this one. This is the Kree Elemental OT, because you can simply just put 100 million to both sides and then just swing for 2 perfect guard attacks or you lose. And that frankly is the best option we have right now. Again, when Griphogila moves to another nation, this is going to be vastly changed to other stuff like Dragvena and God knows what. But for Cactus Sanctuary, because its Overtrigger is the weakest, this is the closest we could come to. And also, this is a nice prelude for me to be able to say that the DearDays 2 videos will be coming out next year. Yes, you heard me right. I will do DearDays 2 videos next year, and they can either be physical videos in the form of upgrades and Far New, or I could just straight up do DearDays 2 videos in terms of gameplay. But let me know in the comment section below if you would like to see either of those. I will see what I can do. I will definitely engage Fade of Fourth to come back to do not Far New. I will definitely engage him to do Grab Grace if given the time to do so, because I really think that deck deserves a lot of love, because Grab Grace Seek is really, really cool, and today we are getting its tournament promo, so I'm so excited. But we will find out soon enough. Alright, now that I've covered the very strange right deck, now let's move on to the tokens first, because there is a lot of text you need to know. So first and foremost, for our tokens, we play 1 Griphogila and as many plant tokens as your, not plant tokens, as many Dragontree markers as your parents allow you to keep in your house, because nobody likes an infestation. Nobody. So the Dragontree markers are like half a force marker. You basically, if your Vanguard is a masques or Dragontree, the unit on that circle gains 5,000 power. That is the only skill it does. Now, if you stack 2 of them together, it does mean that it becomes Force 1. And if you do, the premium players will start screaming, shouting, "No, you killed my format!" Now, shut the fuck up. You can stack more, but I wouldn't recommend it because the Griphogila deck needs you to have as many Dragontree markers on different Vanguard circles as possible. So, if you can, spread it out. But for the effects that allow you to stack your Dragontree markers, I fully recommend you to do so, because it is a very rare skill this deck actually has. One of them is your starter, Griffo Seed. The other is this one. Griphogila is a card like none other printed in the history of Vanguard. It is a token set order. Sorry, I'm wrong. Apparently they printed 2 more this year. They printed Automod Gauges and the Regress Bait. Okay, so I'm sorry for spreading this information. Please leave me alone. Please don't kill my family. Yada yada yada. Griphogila was the first token set order, and it's important because it is a card that comes from outside the right deck. The way this card comes into play is from outside the game when you ride Griphogila Vartex. And again, I'll explain that one a bit. So basically, these two skills will go together. So, I'll talk about them when it comes to it, okay? Now, for our grade 10s at the 10-minute mark, we have Shokumetsu no Ryujin, Griphogila at 4. This is, of course, the Dragontree of Ecliptic Decimation, Griphogila. And this is important because this is the base form of Griphogila and the form you will spend your most important turns on. Why I say this is very simple. This card is the card that will make or break your entire strategy. If you do not manage to spend your Griphogila turns effectively, you lose the game. So, Griphogila, after you've spent X number of turns doing bad shit, nothing, is the card that helps you start the payoffs, right? And he is written from the main deck when you use Griffo Seed's Ride ability. If you somehow lose all 4 copies of Griphogila from your hand or deck, you lose the game. So you know there is a way to beat Griphogila, that's by rushing it, but thanks to DivineZ, can't believe I have to say this, you have 4 extra cards in your main deck, the chances of you losing your 4 Griphogilas is very low. Okay, so what does it say? During your turn, this unit gains 5,000 power for each Dragontree markers on your Vanguard circles. If you have 3 or more, this unit gains a critical. Of course, that is the skill you absolutely want to go for. You absolutely want to have 3 Dragontree markers by turn 3 for you to be able to get the 28k 2 crit attacker on the Vanguard circle. Because you spent so little time doing nothing, you might as well start playing a Proxy Majesty Lord Blaster, can't believe I said as well, and you want to have as much aggression in the center column as much as possible. You already get 2 from Griffo Seed, the 3rd one will come from your skills. You must use 1 that turn or the turn before, and I'll show you how you can do that. But the TLDR is you must start your Griphogila turns with as many Dragontree markers as humanly possible. The second skill is the Auxiliary Dragontree effect that lets you, play the strategy of Griphogila. Griphogila, when this unit attacks, choose a Calamity card from your right deck and remove it from the game. If you are unable to do so, okay, if you fail to be able to use this effect, that is when you get the other effects. You can... I need to see this card again. There's a lot of text on this. I'm very sorry. That was so anticlimactic. Just for me to get my glasses up. Here we go. If you do, right, if you can't remove a card, choose an over trigger from the right deck, reveal it, and force activate it. And then after that, you stand all of your Vanguard circles with a Dragontree marker. I will say though, because this is the main skill of the deck that applies to both forms of Griphogila, do know that even if you don't get an over trigger in your right deck, it's completely fine, okay? It's completely fine. You can still stand the rest of your Vanguards. No one is going to hurt you. I do need you to know that Griphogila, the base form, can only activate over triggers, whereas Griphogila Vartex can activate triggers. And again, these differences do count. Griphogila Vartex paints you the picture of... Not Vartex. Griphogila, the base form, paints for you the picture of how this deck will work. You basically have to spend 3 turns removing your Calamity cards. And then on turn 7, you can then use the over trigger and kill your opponent. It is a slow way to kill your opponent, but again, that is why defense is so important. Griphogila does improve, especially when we see Griphogila Vartex, but it is important for you to actually know how the roots of this deck are, no pun intended, but that's very important. So again, I have to explain this during great detail because this is where half the skill comes from, okay? I figured this may just be a 40-minute video, which I'm now not feeling happy about. For our grade 11s, Griphogila grows up and becomes a much more devastating threat to society. It is now the supreme Dragontree of destruction, Griphogila Vartex. And what does this guy do? Well, we're about to find out together. Griphogila Vartex bears a lot of the same skills as the original Griphogila, and that's because it's a final boss upgrade. So of course, he gets that. Griphogila Vartex, when placed by riding, right, you get to place a Griffo Estacology from outside the deck into your set order zone. That's right, Griffo Estacology is a set order. I'll read you all the skills for both of them and then talk about them, okay? So, the first skill is during your turn, this unit gains 10,000 power plus 1 critical. That's it. That's it. You just get 10,000 power plus 1 critical. Griphogila, the base form, had to struggle getting Dragontree markers. You don't have to. It's just 10k a crit. Phantom Blaster Dragon is rolling in his grave, but let's be fair. If this is your world, right? This is your planet, and there's a giant-ass plant just growing above the size of your entire planet, I'm pretty sure 10,000 power plus 1 critical is going to be a natural stat for it, if not higher. But it can get bigger. The second skill is during either player's turn, if you have 10 or more Hydragram race or Dragontree markers on your rearguard circles, this unit gets another 10,000 power, and that can apply during your opponent's turn. You may be wondering, Ames, what the fuck is a Hydragram? Anything that looks like shit. Anything that looks alien, right, with the Hydragram keyword, so even its Dragontree spawns are called Hydragrums, okay? So that's just the race you need to know. Hydragram as in Hydra, because multiple hits, it's an alien. Now, anything that says Dragontree but is still a human doesn't count. So like, for example, if you want to play the supports for the Dragontree that clearly have the word Dragontree as a keyword but it's a human, it doesn't count. Although this card will count if you're looking for a card with Dragontree in its name, it doesn't count as a Hydragram. It strictly has to be alien then it can work, okay? This means you can actually call the original Griphogilas as rearguards or even other copies of Vartex as rearguards, and it's fine as well. Again, these details do matter because I do have people asking me, Ames, how does it work? Okay, I'm telling you how it works. If you have Dragontree markers, they also do help count for your 10 cards requirement. So again, these are all very important information. The last skill of Griphogila Vartex is an improved version of the original Griphogila's remove skill. When this unit attacks, choose a Calamity card from your right deck and remove it from the game. If you cannot, choose a trigger from your right deck and remove it from the game, apply its effects forcefully, and if you do, no, not if you do, after that, choose all of your rearguards with Dragontree markers on them and stand them. Okay, so it is an improved version because now we can just trigger any trigger that entered the right deck, not just the over trigger, which means you actually can proc a trigger every turn, and I will show you how that works with Griphogila. Griphogila is really cool because, as I said, the guy is looming over the entire planet. So having a set order with him just being on top of the planet, it's so cool. I love this art so much. Griphogila has a lot of skills that you need to know. It basically is the addendum that you staple on top of your minutes, and it is very important. This order represents a Griphogila token, and it cannot be placed into the deck. In the order zone, at the beginning of your main phase, search your deck for one trigger card, put it into the right deck face up. If you do, choose a Hydragram from your drop zone and call it back to the rearguard circle. This is an optional effect. This is the auto skill. So this one triggers at the beginning of the main phase, right? So after you ride, you can automatically get this effect on standby. If you do not apply it during the start of the main phase, you cannot get this skill back for the rest of the turn. Again, these are all details that are very important. So what happens is you choose a trigger, like any one, and then you just put it in the right deck, right? So after you apply the over trigger, or if you even don't want to apply the over trigger, you can just choose to apply this first. It's completely up to you. You can then just start using triggers from your main deck, put it into the right deck, and then get Griphogila to individually swallow them. Or, and the more tactical approach, you can start to put triggers that would harm you in the late game. For example, a draw trigger, and sit it in the main deck and in the right deck. And if you do, you now have a less chance of getting that trigger to cost you the game. Very technical nonsense, I know, but it's very important. Griphogila skill, letting you call a Hydragram from the drop by doing so, technically gives you a free +1 at 0 cost. I mean, yes, you're removing triggers from your deck, but you are still getting a +1 for free. If you told Majesty Lord Blaster he gets a free blaster for free by removing a trigger from his main deck, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to remove all his triggers from the main deck if it means just getting one more Blaster Duck on the board. So again, these are all skills that are very important to the Griphogila strategy and are things you need to know because it is very important on how the whole deck works. And then the rest of the deck is even more technical nonsense. The second skill, it's X skill once per turn. Discard a card from your hand with Griphogila in its name. Draw a card, choose one of your Vanguard circles, and put a Dragontree marker. Then, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of the deck into your damage zone face down, choose a Calamity card from your right deck, and remove it. This skill is very important for two reasons. One, it lets you cycle out the Griphogilas from your hand that you have as bricks out for a free draw. It's basically a cycle card now. Two, it also sets up your drop zone with large Hydragrums, right? Because Griphogila is a 13k base, Griphogila Vartex is an 18k base with no persona, right? So you absolutely do not need extra copies of Griphogila Vartex in your hand. You can now just freely discard it for a free draw, and on the next turn, you can use Astacology to call it back. This is why, for the Griphogila strategy, it is actually very foolish to play a lot of high-value attackers, because your attackers are just going to be clones of this big motherfucker, and it's completely okay. Okay, it's completely okay. You do not need anyone else. The rest of your deck should be focused on defense and utility, because you absolutely need the defense. I don't get why people do not understand this point, okay? I don't get it. And then if you do, you can then just choose a Calamity from your right deck and remove it. So basically, because on your grade 3 Griphogila, the original removes 1, Grifo Astacology will remove 1 more, and then when Griphogila Vartex attacks, you remove 1 more, and then that will help you ensure that on turn 5, you get the overtrigger. Grifo Astacology basically gives you 1 more additional Vanguard turn, but at the cost, you receive 1 more damage. So it is risky, it is, okay, but it is absolutely essential for you to play the game. You have to focus on your defense and let Grifo Astacology eat away at your own damage points so that you can end the game of your own terms. Again, very risky, very dangerous, but you are playing a deck which literally involves around a giant plant eating your planet. It's supposed to be risky. And now that I've talked all about all of that, I can finally move on to the rest of the main deck, okay? So, can't believe I spent that long. For the grade 2s and the newer supports, first of all, we have Pegasus Dysarch at 4. Pegasus Dysarch is the new Dragontree Wretch introduced in DivineZ. And he's very important to us because he basically makes the entire deck playable. And for multiple reasons. The first skill is, when placed on a rearguard circle, you can Energy Blast 3, search your deck for a Mask of Hydragram, and add it to your hand. Now, Mask of Hydragram, in case you forgot, is this guy. Okay? So, why does this one matter? Is because, energy-wise, Griphogila only gets energy if it went second, then you get the energy crest when Griphogila rides, and then after that, what happens is that, you get 3 energy if you went second. If you go first, you get the energy crest when Griphogila rides, but you don't get 3 energy. You only get 3 energy the turn after. That is why Griphogila, for the longest time, has been heavily disadvantaged in DivineZ, because there was no way that it could use the energy in a safe and conservable way. By having Pegasus Dysarch be the one to use energy on a Hydragram on all things, it ensures that in the later turns, when you finally start to accumulate your 3 energy, you can blast it away for Pegasus Dysarch, and if you do, you can actually get your masks, which will enable you to cycle the deck even more. Again, try the deck for yourself, but this card really helps you use your energy very effectively, and that's why I really do love Pegasus Dysarch. The second skill is the more dangerous skill, and why I immediately when I saw Pegasus Dysarch, I was like, oh, Griphogila's back. Pegasus Dysarch, counterblast 1, bind this unit, put a Dragontree marker on a circle that doesn't have it. Again, all the skills from here on out say that exact word, okay? So when I say put a Dragontree marker, understand that it means without 1. The only 2 skills that allow you to stack, like I said, are Grifo Seed and Grifo Astacology, okay? Very important details. Please take out your notebook, start writing it down, okay? I really need you to remember that. Bind this unit, put the marker, Then you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose a card with Masque or Griphogila, and add it to your hand. If this is the first time this unit is bound this game, you can look at the whole deck instead of the top 7. So, on the first usage of Pegasus Dyesuch, you instantly just get Vartex. That's it. You don't need to draw into it or worry that you'll find it. You have an Omni Searcher for this thing now. And for the subsequent turns that you want to use Pegasus Dyesuch, you now can just look at top 7 and freely add anything that has Dragontree or Masque, including a human. Very important detail. So, this guy is literally create a card, custom card for Griphogila. It gives so much consistency to this deck, it's not even funny anymore. The only problem I have with Pegasus Dyesuch is that it binds itself, which means you can't actually resurrect Pegasus Dyesuch after you use this skill. But to be fair, you have 8 Dragontree Grade 10 and 11s as your attackers. Why do you need more? As long as you have 2 more Vartex in circulation alongside your Vanguard, that is 3 18k columns, and you will kill your opponent. He will die. Trust me. So I don't get why they had certain restrictions on this card. But to be fair, this card is just so good already. It is an absolute must pick up for Griphogila players. It is so good. It's everything we wanted. For grade 1s or grade 1s is, it gets relatively simpler because most of them are quite simple to understand, at least that's what I want to believe. We play 4 copies of Dragontree Branch. This is Dragontree Branch. Hold on. I need to see his name again. This is the human, right? Yeah, this is the human Dragontree guy. Okay, I'm just going to move on with the deck profile first. And then after that, I will talk about the rest of it. Then, of course, we played 2 copies of Solar Sakab. This is a Dragontree Wretch, okay? Oh, that's Dragontree Branch Digaway, Dragontree Branch, so Digaway, Dragontree Wretch, Solar Sakab, 4 perfect cards. And then we played 4 copies of this little girl, who I think is pretty cute. I'm going to cover one by one. These are perfect guards. You absolutely need to play them to stay alive. Play this one because your hand size is always going to be small, so this is a good idea. So sorry, guys. Dragontree Wretch, so the Sakab. There's not much to say about Dragontree Wretch, so the Sakab, other than the fact that he's a Wretch and he's a Hydragram. And his skill is that, when placed on the rearguard circle, +1, choose a circle that doesn't have a Dragontree marker and you can install it. You don't really use this skill, but you can if you want to. The draw skill is more important. When the rearguard is placed in the same column as his unit, +1, draw a card. This is really good because, like I said, Griffo Estacology allows you to superior call Hydragrums multiple times. As long as you already have a Solar Sakab in the same column, you can basically +1, draw 1, +1, draw 1, +1, draw 1, and this is your main advantage for the deck. I would recommend you to play this guy at about 3 off, but I think 2 is just nice that you can call it a day. Next up, we have this girl. Like I said just now, I think she's really cute. This is Lacrosse, the Shortcut Knight. Lacrosse's skill is very simple. When this unit is placed on the Guardian Circle, if you have a Dragontree marker on Rearguard Circle during your turn, this unit gains another 5,000 shield, and when retired from your Guardian Circle, it moves into the Soul. This gives you Soul in Dragontree, which is unheard of because, as you already know, Griphogila has very little Soul with just the seed inside. This allows you to have extra Soul-based skills that you can actually toolbox, especially if your Dragontree name pool has a Soul Blast skill. This is very effective, and it's additional 5k shield. The person, of course, that I've been alluding to for the longest time that is a Dragontree card with a Soul Blast skill is going to be Dragontree Branch Digaway. Digaway, being a Dragontree in the name, allows you to toolbox him out with all the Dragontree based support. However, if you need a skill that requires a Hydragram, he's human, okay, so he doesn't get a skill. When placed on the Rearguard Circle, other than during the battle phase, if you have a Grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Solrarion or Griphogila in its card name, which you do, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 Solrarion in its card name or a Mask of Hydragram from among them and discard it. Shuffle the deck, look at the top card of your deck, put it at the top or bottom of your deck. Basically, what this guy does is he sets out the Mask of Hydragram for you, which, because of the extra brick in your deck, you will afford to do so. If you don't need it, it's fine. If you don't hit it, it's completely okay. But The more important skill is that you now get to look at the top or bottom card of your deck, and it is another Dragontree name. So Digaway is again another standout that this deck actually received. Whereas if you look at what Dragon Empire got for its Dragontree branch, you'll notice it's just another retire, which, oh boy. So, you know, this is going to be way better because you definitely want the top deck Scry. So much important. Now, a part that I've been stalling to do for the longest time is actually the orders in this deck. Yeah, there is a lot of cards in this deck, right? So our orders, we actually play for this one, who is the most important card in the deck, and you must hard mulligan for it. 3 Masques of Hydragram, and then 1 copy of Twincast. I'm going to talk about the Masques of Hydragram first because this is obviously the Dragontree card you guys already know about. You can use this card as an order card, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose 1 card with Masque or Dragontree from among them, and then you can put it into your hand and shuffle the deck. Again, because it says Masque and not Masques, you know, you can't actually search another copy of itself, but you can search the units that have been turned into Masque units. That's completely fine. Or if you want to do so, you can search for Dragontree, right? And as I've proven before, anyone with Dragontree in its name, anyone with Dragontree Wretch in its name, or anyone that calls itself a Dragontree branch, absolutely you can search it out. So again, this is basically a top 5 on demand for any guy in the deck, which is very helpful. Now we are going to move on to more stuff you should know. Twincast. Twincast is the Regalis piece of this deck, and it's the only Regalis piece that is legally allowed in this deck because of how good it is for the Griphogila strategy. Twincast, you know, when you play it, choose one of your units being attacked and it gains 10,000 shield. Very nice because Griphogila is absolutely a deck that needs protection because he spends a lot of time in limbo as the Space Seed, right? He doesn't have an early game at all. The second skill is you can remove this card from your drop zone, choose one of your Vanguards being attacked, and it gains 5,000 power for each one of its grades on the unit. Each one of its grades, huh? You want to read that number for me? Basically, what happens with Twincast is that it allows you to block off 2 attacks, a small one and then a very big one. And it plays as basically the 5th perfect card of Griphogila. Again, why nobody talks about this deck? I don't know, but this is a 2024 card, which means it is brand new to DivineZ, so maybe people haven't realized it yet. But let me be the first to establish all the basics of Griphogila. This thing is a nightmare to fight against because of the shield. And you want to turn on the nightmare? Let's turn on the heat with this one. This is Corrosive Smoke Signals. Basically, you know, a very bad gender reveal party was happening for Griphogila, and the whole planet caught on fire. You can play this if you have a Hydragrums Vanguard, which even Griphogila is a Hydragram, okay, so it's completely okay. Choose one of your Vanguard circles without any Dragontree markers, put a Dragontree marker on it. Choose one of your units being attacked and gain 10,000 power until the end of that battle. If your Vanguard is a Vanguard with Griphogila in its card name, the unit gains 20,000 power instead of 10. Now, if you need this in the early game, which you absolutely should, this is the only card in the entire of Cardfight Vanguard that gives you a Dragontree marker before Griphogila. Why does this matter? Because Griphogila doesn't check for already present Dragontree markers. So by using Corrosive Smoke Signals, Griphogila can stack you a second Dragontree marker on the tree. If you don't understand why that's important, you should just rewatch the entire video, okay? Because that is a hugely important effect for this deck. Not only that though, a 10,000 shield for Griphogila is very strong, but a 20,000 shield for fat ass Griphogila is always going to be very important. So again, this is an absolute 4-off of the Griphogila deck. You absolutely need to pick this up in a 4-off. This is a 4 slot you cannot compete with. It is that important, okay? I really cannot stress this enough. Please, 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 please pick this card up because it will make the entire deck playable. Last but not least, our triggers. Our triggers, we will play 4 heal triggers, we will play 7 crit triggers, and then we will play 4 draw. Very, very basic lineup because as I've already mentioned, you know, 4 heals want to stay alive. We play 4 draws because this deck absolutely needs its pieces. You do need to draw through them, and then 7 crits because it's nice. Again, because as I mentioned with Griphogila, if there is a trigger that can potentially end your life, for example, you don't want to pull a draw trigger, you can use Griphogila to swallow the draw trigger out of the main deck and not worry about it. On the other hand, if you have a trigger you absolutely want to activate, for example, a crit trigger, you can have Griffo Estacology swallow the crit trigger and apply it during the turns you want to use it. In that case, though, it's even better than the crit elemental over trigger because, you know, a critical trigger, right? So you don't actually have to rush into using an over trigger. You can actually just straight up choose to apply a regular trigger that Estacology has swallowed beforehand, and that makes your trigger lineup more important. And that finally concludes my Griphogila video for DivineZ. I have spent great amount of time talking about this because, you know, there is a lot of things that have been updated since last year, and it is important that everyone knows about this deck. This deck is by no means competitive, neither is this a meta deck, absolutely not. But this deck being playable in DivineZ again is a shell shocker. Most people growing up into Vanguard, you know, absolutely love their final villain decks. I mean, I think it's a rite of passage for most people who watch an anime to say, hey, I love to try this deck, right? But most of the modern children that play Vanguard in, you know, D series do not have that privilege because, you know, Dragontree was just really badly executed. But now in DivineZ, I hope that I've shown you that this deck actually has not only playable lines, but an entire in-archetype just waiting for you to bubble over. And it is insane. It really is quite shocking. Right now, if you want to pick up Griphogila, now is the best time to do so with DZ VTO 6 Generation Trade Genesis because of this new support. It really brings this deck to life. And that, again, is testament to the strength of the DivineZ team. So I think I can end this video, end this year by saying, you know, congratulations. You know, really, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm really happy. I'm really glad that the DivineZ team that has been designing the new year for Vanguard for the entire 2023, I would say you guys have succeeded overall in terms of legacy support. I would say that out of all the decks that they wanted to touch this year, i.e. everyone from the past, I would say you only really failed at like 1 to 2 decks like Grand Fear. I would say everyone else has succeeded. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I implore you, take some time, watch any of my older videos from this year. It will really show you that for legacy support, Bushiroad has really got ahead of themselves and have finally learned the correct way to do legacy support. I feel that for the longest time as an old Vanguard player, they've never been able to understand and nail legacy support on the head. But I feel that with this year, there are a lot of decks that, you know, are doing well with legacy support meant for them. You don't have to ask me. You can see there are decks like Nirvana Jiva, Majesty Lord Blaster, Dragonic Overlord, Phantom Blaster Overlord, you know, even older and more weirder stuff, Bastion, Magnolia, Prison, you know, these Bruce, Chronojet, these are all decks from the past. They are doing extremely well today, and it's all because of the modern support they have gotten. Again, I've covered the entire year on legacy support, and most of these videos I've not been disappointed. If they even managed to turn Vanguard around for me, I think that is insane of a you know, of a resume check. Like, you guys need a bonus. Again, I implore you, for those of you who want to learn more about DivineZ as a whole, you can check out the any video on my channel for the last year. It will tell you all about DivineZ. This also means that we have come to the end of 2023. I will no longer be linking my DivineZ Explained video in the links in the description anymore. So, you know, yes, goodbye to 2024. Why did I say 2023 just now? Goodbye to 2024. Thank you all so much for journeying with me through this year. I look forward to be able to covering a bit more content from DZBTO 6 and, if God willing, DearDays 2 and DZBTO 7. Again, I'm filming this video ahead in advance because when you're watching this video, I am away on a errand trip for my family. So, you know, who knows? Maybe by now we've already hit 1,000 subs. Who freaking knows, right? But really, thank you all. Thank you to all my friends who supported me. Thank you to my friends and family. And thank you to all of you who I interact with, you know, on a day-to-day basis, who I interact with, you know, just the people that come up to me and say hello, you know, at locals or message me online. Most of you are very pleasant.
most of you, and it is nice to talk to people and interact with you guys from the community, because that's what it's all about. Vanguard is a game for people by people, and I think that is very important. So I'm just gonna end it on that note. Again, really thank you all so much. I do have plans to maybe try and go for a DivineZ eventually, maybe in this year or next year. Who knows? We will see. And, I'm not going to try and win a WGP anymore. I think it's just unrealistic. I love cheating. I'm not a cheater. Bye-bye.